knitting the sleeve of a blouse. If I had done so on a Japanese machine and it came time to bind off 8 stitches as it is for the underarm, I would have done so by using the gate pegs. Since I don't have gate pegs and I'm working on the Passap, I can do something similar with the needles on the opposing bed. I want to get this first stitch onto my latch tool. Now I'm going to go across, transferring every stitch to my latch tool and then chaining through it, working around the needles from the opposing bed. So they're holding my work, keeping it from dropping down. They're also creating evenly spaced chain stitches. That's 4, I think. 5, 6, 7, and I need to put up one more. I like to do this with the beds lowered, although you can do it either way. This just works for me space-wise. And now just hang this stitch on the needle that will continue working. This yarn is pulled through the eyelet, so I will pull it back through, removing the slack before I start knitting. And of course, I'll drop all of these stitches off of the needles from the opposing bed. And before we go, have a look at that nice neat bind off. It's not much trouble, works well. It takes a little learning how to get it done. I must admit my first attempts were quite clumsy, but you can do it. And we just work across the necessary stitches, binding off by chaining around the imaginary gate pegs. Of course they're really there, they're just not really gate pegs. But it works very well. It takes some stress off of you, because some other methods of binding off with a chain stitch on the Passap machine are a bit more laborious. This one makes a nice even chain. You have some control over the tightness of it if you need to adjust it. So it's a good thing to know how to do. Here's a hint. I'm sitting a little bit too low for ease, and it's stressing my left shoulder that has to reach over and around. I'm not very tall. A stool or a chair that's a little bit higher and puts you with a good perspective where you can look down on the needle beds is better for this job, even if you would rather knit from a lower position. And there we go.